The latest with the Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers situation is basically this past weekend. Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers were in Los Angeles throwing the ball around together, along with many other players. Was this a coincidence? I don't think so. But the question is that the best decision for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Could it potentially cause the Steelers to actually win a playoff game this season? Maybe, maybe not. A quarterback has to fit with an offense. Now, Aaron Rodgers has never played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mason Rudolph has played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and has a lot of experience. Why is Mason Rudolph always seen as a backup and nothing more than that? Well, Coach Tomlin did make a comment when he was asked about that. If Mason Rudolph were to have to start, basically how he would feel about that, he used the word comfortable, that he would be comfortable with Mason Rudolph, but still seeking another quarterback is what it seems like. Now, why has Mason Rudolph gotten stuck in that backup zone? I've talked about this for years, that Mason Rudolph has somehow ended up in the backup zone. And it comes back to when Mason Rudolph was drafted on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was there when he was drafted. And Mason Rudolph was a backup to Ben Roethlisberger, and he was always in the shadows of Ben Roethlisberger. So from that point on, he's become a backup. And yes, he did play the better part of a season when Ben was out with an injury. And that wasn't the greatest season. It wasn't the worst season. It was okay. It wasn't as exciting as many would have liked, but he was young. He was new. He didn't have a lot of experience. He has a lot more experience now. And see, last season, when playing on the Titans, he got experience with another offense. And I'm sure he brings that back to the Pittsburgh Steelers for this season. So, if nothing else, why not let Mason Rudolph take the reins? Let Rudolph take the reins this season as a starting quarterback, as the starting quarterback. Let him take those first team reps and see where it takes this team. Now, Aaron Rodgers, we don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Is he waiting for the Vikings? He was throwing the ball around with Metcalf this past weekend in Los Angeles. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. Is he trying to make that decision? Is he hoping the Vikings are going to reach out to him? Now, yeah, it's really hard to say. But the Pittsburgh Steelers do have Mason Rudolph with a lot of experience. And 2 years ago, we saw some really incredible things with Mason Rudolph. He didn't win the playoff game, but he came in at the end of the season. Let him play regular season games and see how it plays out for an entire season. There's just so much, well, he's going to be in there if our starter can't play. It's not good enough. You're not giving him a chance to develop. And I know with the second and third team, he gets reps. It's not the same as playing in actual NFL games. And he does have some games under his belt now. He's got a lot of games under his belt. But that consistency can really make a difference. It compounds, and a player develops and gets better. But it seems like Mason Rudolph doesn't really get that chance. Now, if by chance the Vikings do decide to reach out and take Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh Steelers may not have a choice but to give Mason Rudolph that starting job to lose. And after so many years, I know a lot of people may disagree with this. I know it's not a popular idea, but you can put a veteran in there that may play for the team for a year. And then what next year? You're going to find another veteran? Hope that the draft is better? Why not let Mason Rudolph, at least for one season, see what happens? See if he can develop with the offense. You have two great wide receivers now, which opens up a run game. Mason Rudolph has a great deep ball, so why not give Mason a chance? Well, I guess we have to see how this whole thing plays out with Aaron Rodgers, Because if the Pittsburgh Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers, then Mason becomes the backup again. And if Aaron Rodgers does a great job throughout the entire season, okay. But what could happen? Same thing we've seen before. Might win a handful of games, then what happens at the end of the season? These are hypotheticals, but you know what? We all look at this. We all think of hypotheticals. At the end of the season, Mason Rudolph will step in there and start winning a bunch of games, and then we think, whoa, maybe Mason should have been in there the entire season. It just seems like he doesn't get a chance to be the starting quarterback. And these little samples are just not enough. Typically, a starting quarterback is in there for a year, 2 years, maybe a third year until a team decides to move on. You need to get that chemistry. You need to get that working together. And that's how you build a team. Putting veterans in there isn't really a way to build a team for the long term. It's a temporary solution. And what is that going to lead to? How's that different than letting Mason Rudolph have a season as a starting quarterback? And yeah, get him a good backup. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Leave your comments, your thoughts. We appreciate it. Any feedback is great to add to the conversation. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe and hit that bell for notifications for up-to-date Pittsburgh Steelers news, talk, and analysis. Thanks for watching.